I've had the most magical life. It was not what I expected. It was not at all what I dreamed about. But wow, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. These are the words of Linda Evans, the legendary star of Dynasty, who, at 82 years old, is living a life that will leave you absolutely stunned. From earning $100,000 per episode in the glitzy world of Hollywood to chopping her own wood in the middle of nowhere, Linda's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. She walked away from fame, moved to a secret hideout in Washington, and completely disappeared from the public eye. But that's not even the craziest part of her story. At 74, she was arrested. At 79, she made a shocking comeback. And wait until you hear what she did with a live eel on TV that broke the internet. This is the unbelievable life of Linda Evans, and you won't believe how she's living now. Linda Evans was born Linda Evenstad on November 18, 1942, in Hartford, Connecticut. Her Norwegian heritage was a big part of her identity, with the name Evenstad coming from a small farm in Ness, Hedmark, where her paternal great-grandmother had lived before immigrating to America in 1884. She was the second of 3 daughters, born to Arlene and Alva Evans, both professional dancers. Creativity and performance were always present in her home, but despite being surrounded by the world of entertainment, Linda was an extremely shy child who avoided attention whenever possible. When she was just 6 months old, her family moved from Hartford to North Hollywood, California, putting her right in the middle of the entertainment industry. Yet she had no plans of being part of it. She attended Hollywood High School, where she shared classrooms with future stars like Carol Wells and Stephanie Powers. While her parents thrived in the spotlight, Linda preferred to stay in the background, struggling with crippling shyness that made it hard for her to feel comfortable in social situations. At 14, her parents saw that she needed help overcoming her fear of attention. They encouraged her to take acting classes, not to push her toward a career in Hollywood, but to help her gain confidence. At first, she was hesitant. Standing in front of people and performing felt terrifying, but acting gave her something unexpected. It allowed her to express herself in a way that felt safe. Instead of feeling exposed, she felt free. Playing different roles helped her tap into emotions she had always kept hidden, and that decision changed everything. At 15, she went with a friend to a television commercial audition. Her friend was nervous, and Linda was there for support. She had no intention of trying out, but fate had other plans. A director at the audition noticed her and asked if she wanted to read for the part. She had never auditioned for anything before, but she agreed. To her surprise, she got the role. That unexpected moment introduced her to acting in a way she had never imagined. The commercial led to more opportunities, and soon she was doing modeling work and landing small roles on television. In 1960, she got her first speaking part on Bachelor Father, a popular series at the time. On set, she met John Forsythe for the first time. Neither of them knew it then, but their paths would cross again years later in a way that would change both of their careers. She also appeared on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, another well-known show of the era. These early roles were small, but they gave Linda experience in front of the camera and helped her grow more comfortable in an industry she had never planned to be part of. At 23 years old, Linda Evans was cast as Audra Barkley in The Big Valley, a Western series that aired on ABC from 1965 to 1969. It was a defining moment in her career. The show followed the wealthy Barkley family as they fought to maintain their ranch in California's San Joaquin Valley. Evans starred in all 112 episodes alongside Hollywood legend Barbara Stanwyck and rising talent like Lee Majors. Audra Barkley was more than just the youngest sibling in the family. She was strong-willed, compassionate, and unafraid to stand up for what she believed in. In an era when television was starting to embrace more independent female characters, Audra stood out. Evans brought charm and depth to the role, making her one of the most beloved characters on the show. At first, she almost turned down the role. Her boyfriend at the time didn't approve, and she considered walking away. But the producers refused to release her from the contract, and that decision changed everything. The show became a success, even winning an Emmy in 1966 for Outstanding Achievement in Film Sound Editing. For Evans, it was more than just a popular show. It was the opportunity that launched her into stardom. Working with Barbara Stanwyck was one of the most important experiences of Evans's career. Stanwyck was known for her no-nonsense attitude and deep professionalism. She took Evans under her wing and taught her how to command attention on screen. In one unforgettable moment, Evans struggled to understand what it meant to have presence in a scene. Instead of explaining, Stanwyck kicked her onto the set in the middle of filming. The lesson stuck, and Evans later credited that moment with helping her find confidence as an actress. Their bond went beyond acting. During the show's run, Evans's mother passed away, and Stanwyck became a source of comfort, even telling her, "I'll be your mom now." That simple statement meant everything. More than just a mentor, Stanwyck was a guiding force in Evans's life, teaching her the importance of discipline and hard work, values that Evans carried throughout her career. When the Big Valley ended, in 1969, Linda Evans was already a well-known name in television, but her journey was far from over. In the mid-1970s, she took on bold and unexpected roles, stepping away from the wholesome image she had built on television. In 1974, she starred in The Klansman alongside Lee Marvin and Richard Burton. The film, based on William Bradford Hughes' novel, told the story of a racially divided Southern town on the brink of violence. Evans played Nancy Poteet, a young woman whose assault triggered rising tensions between Black residents and the town's white authorities. The film aimed to tackle serious social issues, but critics felt it handled them poorly. Many saw it as exploitative rather than thought-provoking. Despite the backlash, The Klansman remains significant for its raw depiction of race relations in a volatile era. It also marked one of O.J. Simpson's first acting roles, adding to its historical curiosity. In 1975, Evans took on a completely different role in Mitchell, a crime thriller starring Joe Don Baker. She played Greta, a high-class escort caught in a dangerous world of corruption. The film followed Baker's character, an aggressive detective taking on powerful criminals with his own brand of justice. Greta wasn't just a love interest. She was tangled in the film's larger conflicts, making her an important piece in the story's puzzle. Mitchell was not well received at the time. The New York Times called it mindless small-screen entertainment, and critics dismissed it as forgettable. But years later, it found an unlikely second life when Mystery Science Theater 3000 featured it in the 1990s. Its exaggerated action and tough guy cliches made it a cult favorite. Evans's performance showed her willingness to take risks, even in films that didn't get critical praise. These roles were a clear departure from her days as Audra Barkley on The Big Valley. They let her explore darker, more complex characters, but they also showed how difficult it was to transition from television to film. Still, her persistence led her to one of the most notable projects of her career. In 1980, Evans starred in Tom Horn alongside Steve McQueen. The film told the real-life story of Tom Horn, a legendary scout-turned-vigilante caught in a deadly conflict over cattle rustling. McQueen played Horn as a man haunted by his violent past, trying to find his place in a changing world. Evans played Gwendoline Kimmel, a schoolteacher who became one of the few people to offer Horn kindness and understanding. Her character brought warmth to a story dominated by lawlessness and betrayal. The production of Tom Horn faced serious challenges. McQueen's health was already in decline due to mesothelioma, an aggressive form of cancer. His illness added a quiet intensity to his performance, making it one of the most poignant of his career. The film itself received mixed reviews. Some critics praised McQueen's depth and authenticity, while others felt the pacing was uneven. Over time, Tom Horn gained more appreciation, especially among Western fans who saw it as an underrated entry in McQueen's filmography. For Evans, the film proved she could hold her own alongside one of Hollywood's biggest icons. It also marked an important shift in her career. Though she continued acting in films, her most defining role was still ahead of her. Linda Evans was 39 when she landed the role of Krystle Carrington in Dynasty. In Hollywood, that was considered too old for a leading lady, but producer Aaron Spelling ignored the industry's usual rules. He wanted someone with classic glamour and warmth, and Evans had both. When Dynasty premiered on January 12, 1981, she played Krystle, the secretary-turned-wife of oil tycoon Blake Carrington. She started with a salary of $15,000 per episode, but by 1989 that number had jumped to $100,000, making her the highest-paid actress on television. This role was a second chance for Evans. In the 1960s, she was a star on The Big Valley, but by the late 1970s, her career had faded. Dynasty was supposed to be her big comeback, though it didn't seem that way at first. the show struggled in its first season, ranking number 29 in the ratings. Everything changed in 1982 when Joan Collins joined as Alexis, Carrington, Blake's ex-wife. With her arrival, Dynasty took off. By 1984, it was the #1 show in America, drawing 20 million viewers a week. Playing Krystle wasn't just about looking elegant. The role was physically demanding. One of the most famous moments in the show's history came in 1983 when Krystle and Alexis fought in a lily pond. It took 2 days to film, and Evans insisted on doing her own stunts. That scene became a cultural phenomenon, drawing 30 million viewers. Fans loved watching Krystle and Alexis go head-to-head, but off-camera, things weren't as entertaining. Evans and Collins had a difficult relationship. Collins was an experienced scene stealer who liked to rehearse over and over to control how a scene played out. Evans preferred a more natural approach. This difference in style led to tension. During one fight scene, Collins accidentally hit Evans in the jaw. She later joked, "That's not acting. Linda really hated me." Evans didn't find it funny. She once refused to film a scene where Alexis humiliates Krystle at a charity gala. The tension peaked in 1985 when Collins criticized Evans's delivery during a table read. Evans stormed out. Despite the stress, their rivalry kept viewers hooked. In May 1985, Dynasty aired its most-watched episode, the Moldavian Massacre Season finale. In this cliffhanger, terrorists attacked a royal wedding, leaving Krystle and Alexis caught in the chaos. The episode drew 35 million viewers. Off-screen, though, Evans was struggling. The stunts had taken a toll on her body, leaving her with chronic back pain. She also felt trapped by the increasingly outrageous scripts. By 1989, she had enough. She filmed just 6 episodes of season 9 before walking away. Looking back, she said, "I felt like a puppet. Krystle was trapped, and so was I." Even with the challenges, Evans's performance didn't go unnoticed. In 1982, she won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama Series, tying with Dallas star Barbara Bel Geddes. She earned 4 more Golden Globe nominations and a 1983 Emmy nod, though she never won. Fans adored her. She took home 5 consecutive People's Choice Awards, a record that stood until Jennifer Aniston's run on Friends. At the height of her fame, Evans appeared on 6 magazine covers in a single month. She also became one of TV's first major brand ambassadors, signing a $2 million deal with Krystle Light in 1984. Her beauty and exercise book, released in 1983, sold 500,000 copies. But Dynasty's biggest off-screen controversy came in 1985, when Rock Hudson guest-starred as Krystle's old flame. The script called for a kissing scene between Evans and Hudson. At the time, no one knew he was battling AIDS. To protect her, Hudson gargled antiseptic mouthwash before filming. When his diagnosis became public, Evans faced backlash. Crew members avoided her, and some refused to share a makeup trailer. "I became a pariah overnight," she later said. ABC even considered cutting the kiss from future broadcasts, but by then, 28 million people had already seen it. Meanwhile, her feud with Collins never really faded. In 1986, Collins mocked Evans's acting, saying her range was from A to B. Evans was so insulted that she skipped Dynasty reunions for over a decade. It wasn't until 2006, when they both appeared on Hell's Kitchen, that Collins finally admitted, "We were oil and water, but the show needed both." Evans left Dynasty in 1989, exhausted from nearly a decade of high-stakes television. She had become one of the most iconic figures of the 1980s, but the experience drained her. Years later, she admitted that while the show made her famous, it also left her feeling trapped. Still, Dynasty remains her defining role, securing her place in television history. Linda Evans's life was shaped by love, betrayal, and reinvention. Her first marriage to actor-director John Derek seemed like a Hollywood fairy tale. When they wed in 1968, she was 25. They met on the set of The Big Valley, and she was drawn to his confidence and charm despite their 16-year age gap. For nearly a decade, she put his career first, stepping away from acting because he wanted her to focus on being his ideal wife. She did everything to make the marriage work, believing in the life they were building together. Then came Christmas Day in 1973. That morning, Derek sat her down and told her he was in love with someone else, 17-year-old Bo Derek. He had met Bo when she was just 16 during a film shoot in Greece. The affair had started while she was still underage, so to avoid statutory rape charges in California, he stayed in Europe with her until she turned 18. Evans was shattered. She later admitted she felt worthless and even considered ending her life. The divorce was finalized in 1974, but the pain lingered. 2 years later, Derek married Bo, and they stayed together until his death in 1998. As devastating as it was, that betrayal changed Evans's life in ways she never expected. Determined to rebuild, she called her agent in 1974 and begged for work. She had been out of the industry for too long, and many warned her that Hollywood had moved on without her. She refused to accept that. She took any role she could find, determined to prove herself again. In 1981, she landed the role of Krystle Carrington on Dynasty, earning $100,000 per episode and winning a Golden Globe. Years later, she realized something ironic. If she had stayed married to Derek, she never would have taken that role. He had controlled her career choices, refusing to let her work on projects without him. His betrayal had been the worst thing that ever happened to her, but it also set her free. Decades later, Bo Derek admitted she still felt guilt over what happened, calling the affair a horrible thing that broke her heart. But Evans had long since made peace with it. Instead of holding on to anger, she forgave Bo, and the two even became friends. "I don't stop loving people just because I'm not with them," Evans once said. "I just love differently." Her second marriage was supposed to be different. In 1975, she married Los Angeles real estate mogul Stan Herman. After the chaos of her divorce, she wanted stability, and Herman seemed like the perfect partner. He helped her recover financially, teaching her investment strategies that turned her into a self-made millionaire. But while their financial partnership thrived, their marriage didn't. Herman wanted a traditional homemaker, while Evans had rediscovered her love for acting. Their lifestyles clashed, and by 1979 they divorced. Unlike her first husband, Herman remained a lifelong friend. He gave her their Beverly Hills home, where she lived for decades, and continued advising her on finances. In 1986, when he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, Evans was the first person by his side. She even considered remarrying him as she cared for him during treatment. A close friend at the time said, "Having her back in his life is the best medicine he could get." Though their romantic relationship ended quickly, his influence lasted a lifetime. He had given her the financial knowledge she needed to negotiate massive contracts during Dynasty, turning her into one of television's highest-paid actresses. Despite the love and respect they had for each other, their divorce left Evans disillusioned with marriage. She later admitted, "I was tired of being a housewife. Now that both Stan and I are successes, the thought of settling down is appealing," but she never did. After 2 failed marriages, she embraced independence instead. By the late 1980s, after leaving Dynasty, she made a dramatic choice. She walked away from Hollywood, bought a secluded lake house in Washington state, and disappeared from the public eye. For the first time in her life, she didn't have to please anyone. She chopped wood, grew vegetables, and stopped worrying about how she looked. "I no longer had to worry about how I looked," she said, reflecting on the Botox and wigs she had relied on during her relationship with musician Yanni. But life away from the spotlight wasn't always peaceful. In 2006, she suffered a slipped disc that left her in chronic pain. The agony was so intense that she considered suicide. At the same time, her sisters were facing life-threatening illnesses. It was one of the darkest moments of her life. "I really understood why people say, 'Maybe I don't want to live,'" she later admitted. But she survived. Through it all, she developed a new outlook. Every painful experience had a lesson. "I learned I deserved better," she said. Romance came and went. She spent 9 years with Yanni, who was 12 years younger, but she never remarried. By 2023, at 81 years old, she had no regrets. "Joy doesn't come from the spotlight," she told Northwest Primetime. "It comes from the life you choose." She turned down reality TV offers, wrote a memoir focused on self-discovery, and became an advocate for elder care reform after a DUI arrest at 74. The incident was caused by painkillers she had been taking for her spinal injury, a stark reminder of the struggles that came with aging. Her story, from betrayed wife to independent woman, became a testament to resilience. "Anything is possible when you reclaim your life," she once said. And if she could go back and change anything, she wouldn't. "I would not change my past," she declared. "It made me who I am." Linda Evans left behind the luxury of Beverly Hills for something completely different. In 1989, she moved to a 70-acre property in Rainier, Washington, a quiet retreat with a river, guest cottages, and a small circle of close family and friends. She had bought the land while still starring in Dynasty, but once Hollywood was behind her, it became her full-time escape. "I live in heaven here," she said, sharing her home with her sister, nephew, and ex-stepdaughter, Shauna Derrick. Her lifestyle changed completely. She downsized to a 2-bedroom house filled with natural light and spent her days gardening and hiking. She wanted something real, far from the superficiality of fame. "You want to be where your heart feels safe," she told Oprah, adding that getting older had given her more certainty in who I am. She also embraced alternative healing, studying Eastern philosophy and naturopathy after being diagnosed with idiopathic edema. Her search for spiritual understanding led her to J.Z. Knight's Ramtha's School of Enlightenment, a controversial group that played a role in her decision to settle in Washington. Long before wellness culture became mainstream, Evans was already promoting the connection between beauty and well-being. In 1983, she published the Linda Evans Beauty and Exercise book, a 125-page guide combining fitness, skincare, and mental health. The book, released by Simon & Schuster, sold over 500,000 copies. It included step-by-step workouts, skincare routines, and affirmations like, "Beauty begins within." She collaborated with her ex-stepdaughter, Shauna Catherine Derrick, on the project, introducing ideas like intuitive eating and meditation, rare concepts in the fitness culture of the 1980s. In 1992, she took her wellness philosophy further, launching Linda Evans Fitness Centers, a chain of women's gyms run by CEO Mark Goloff. The centers focused on holistic health, featuring aerobic classes set to music by her then-partner, Yanni. Though the gyms eventually closed, Evans remained committed to health and beauty, later hosting infomercials for Rejuvenique, an electric facial toning mask. "I wanted to help women feel strong, not just look strong," she said, proving that for her, fitness was about more than appearances. In 2009, at 66, Evans did something no one expected. She won Hell's Kitchen, becoming the oldest champion in the show's history. The UK audience watched in shock as she defeated comedian Adrian Edmondson in the live finale, drawing 5.8 million viewers. What made her victory even more surprising was that she had no professional cooking experience. Her culinary skills were mostly limited to home cooking and memorizing recipes for Dynasty kitchen scenes. Her start on the show was rough. Head chef Marco Pierre White kicked her out of the kitchen on the first day for overcooking scallops, telling her, "You're not ready to hold a pan." The physical challenges were just as intense. During a fish market challenge, she became the first contestant to kill a live eel with her bare hands. "I volunteered to learn, even if it meant becoming a murderer," she later admitted. Her comeback moment came during a pasta challenge judged by Mario Batali. Her lobster and truffle ravioli outperformed dishes from trained chefs, proving she wasn't just a novelty contestant. White later praised her unshakable elegance under fire, a sharp contrast to younger competitors like Bruce Grobbelaar, who quit, and Anthea Turner, who was eliminated for poor knife skills. Evans donated her $100,000 prize to charity, but her real victory was cultural. She became Hell's Kitchen's most unexpected winner and sparked a 237% increase in Seattle tourism inquiries from UK fans. At 79, Evans returned to acting after an 18-year break, taking on a powerful role in Swan, Song 2021. The indie film, which premiered at SXSW, cast her as Rita Parker Sloan, a retired opera diva confronting old age and lost fame. The role was personal. She drew from her struggles with chronic fatigue syndrome in the 1990s to bring authenticity to her performance. Working alongside art house veterans like Udo Kier and Jennifer Coolidge, Evans delivered a striking performance. One scene in particular stood out: a single 90-second take where her character applied makeup with trembling hands. She rehearsed it for 3 weeks, ensuring every movement reflected the vulnerability of aging. The film scored 92% on Rotten tomatoes, with critics comparing her performance to Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard. Though she was only on screen for 11 minutes, her presence had a lasting impact. Within a month of Swansong's release, streaming views of her 1983 TV movie Bare Essence jumped 41%. Her resurgence in the 2020s brought her an entirely new audience. Clips of her legendary Dynasty catfight with Joan Collins racked up 14.2 million views on TikTok. Her Hell's Kitchen eel scene went viral, reaching 9.7 million views. Suddenly, Gen Z was fascinated by her. The fashion world took notice too. In 2022, her metallic ball gown from Dynasty's infamous Moldavian massacre episode sold for $47,000, 325% above its original estimate.